Hey 302, I'm Jackie Ferris. Every year, the Wilmington Grand Prix races down Market Street. On today's show, we're going to go behind the scenes and talk to the movers and the shakers involved in this amazing community event. The 302 is racing to the finish line. Hey 302, we're coming up on one of the premier events for Wilmington, coming up on May 17th to the 19th. Of course, I'm talking about the Wilmington Grand Prix, and joining me to talk about it is the man about town, the publisher of Out and About magazine, Jerry Dufilly. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Let's talk about, this is one of the premier events for Wilmington. Tell us why.
It is. Well, you know, this event started in 2007. And really the goal of the event was that we recognized cycling was kind of a growing sport, and it was a sport that worked in an urban environment where we could basically take the streets, close them, and make it a race course and create a big street festival. So that was our idea. We started sharing it with city officials, some corporations, different partners in the community, and you know, from there it's just kind of become this annual tradition.
Now, it's not just a cycling event. This brings in world-class athletes, and it's been recognized nationally and even internationally in some cases. Talk to us about that. This is serious business.
Yeah, so this is the 11th straight year that the race has been on the USA Cycling's national race calendar. We are one of 18 races on the National Road Tour, which is the premier cycling tour, domestic cycling tour, US cycling tour in the States. So we are stop number 6, and basically it's kind of like a NASCAR circuit where the racers travel both international and domestic. They travel around the country from California to Ohio to Philadelphia to Florida to Wilmington, and they compete for points and the right to be able to say their team was the #1 national race tour team in the country, or their individual racer was the #1 race tour. So it's a big deal, and we're proud to be part of it.
Talk to me about what people are going to see. Now, this is the start and the finish in this area here.
Yeah, right here is the start finish, right in front of the Grand Opera House. Chelsea Tavern, which is where we're seated, is a great little vantage point to have a beer and a sandwich and watch the racers come by. So essentially what this is a 6-block street party where a bike race breaks out. So we close all the streets to traffic, all the merchants open. We have courtside cafes. We bring in a bunch of free amusements for kids, like rock walls, moon bounces, obstacle courses. We have music. We have a sidewalk sale. We just have a lot of activity. It's all free. I mean, obviously you have to pay for your food and drink, but all the activities for the families are free. There's no admission charge. People come and they celebrate. And oh, by the way, while you're chatting or having a beer or whatever, you know, 100 racers will swing by at like 35 miles an hour. So it's a very unique experience, and it's pretty cool.
So it seems like there's something for everybody when they come down. They can, like you said, eat and then watch the main event. Talk about what they're going to be seeing. I know that we mentioned there are a lot of cyclists that are champions. We have Laura Van Gilder, who has won it 3 times. Can you tell us a couple of the other names that we might be watching go by?
Well, Tina Pick is one of the more renowned female racers in the country, and she has won the race a couple of times. She'll be here. The rally cycling team used to be United Healthcare, which kind of dominated the circuit for years. They're out of North Carolina, and they will be here in full force. We have a team from Australia coming, and Rock Salt Outdoor, I believe their name is, and they will be here again. Their racer won the women's field last year. So we have, it's an international field, but it's also a top domestic field.
Now, I know there are going to be a couple of people that are just going to be so thrilled, kind of like fans of the sport. Are there going to be any opportunities to like a meet and greet or clinics or things like that for people just to have?
Well, yeah, so here's the deal. The great thing about cycling is it's very approachable and accessible. So the racers, before they race, are basically riding around in the street streets. They're warming up on their stationary bike, getting ready to race. And people can go up and talk with them, chat, ask them about their equipment, ask them about where they're from. We have a great program where we have a host housing, where we have a lot of teams come in and they will stay with families here in the community, and that develops a little bit of a bond and actually a fan base. So these racers will come back the following year and they had stayed with a family here or a friend, and the guys come out and root for them. So cycling is a very grassroots sport. It's happening not in a stadium, it's happening on the streets of our city. And so the people that are in those streets, that are on the sidewalks, are very accessible to the athletes.
So when we come down, is there any kind of, I guess, etiquette to it? Can we bring a chair? What can we bring? What can't we bring? When should we come?
Yeah, so when people come, I mean, obviously, as I mentioned, the admission's free. There are a lot of, what's great about this, the evolution of Market Street, which is one of the reasons we've done this race, is that there are now a lot of restaurants and things kind of lining the streets. So you do not have to bring a chair. You should just bring yourself and a little bit of money. So you can, have lunch and just enjoy it at one of the courtside cafes. It's a sport with a lot of adrenaline, so you're going to want to get along the fencing and just watch them buzz by. There's a very unique experience to having a big peloton, which is basically a pack of racers go by you at that speed. So no, just come down, bring your family, let them ride the rides, play in the games, and you watch the races and chat with your friends and have some food and drink.
Excellent. Now, you mentioned the sponsors, and of course, I'm sure you want to mention those by name really quick.
Well, yes, and Bank of America has been a great partner. They've been our presenting sponsor from the very beginning, 2007. So we're very proud of that. It says a lot about the event, and it says a lot about them as a corporation. Obviously, Chase Bank has been a very good partner, and also shows a little bit about our community. We have two financial institutions that instead of one has to own it, they partner to support this thing because it's about the community. Highmark, DuPont, City of Wilmington, and Downtown Visions are 6 big and very instrumental sponsors.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Jerry. And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Holly, and you're watching the 302.
Welcome back. We are talking about the Wilmington Grand Prix, and two of the gentlemen who are playing an instrumental role on the sidelines. We're here with Joe Van Horn. He is the owner of the Chelsea Tavern, and Scott Chancio, who is with the Greater Wilmington Convention and Visitors Bureau. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Now, we're going to come out to the race. It's going to be fantastic, but there's so much that's on the sidelines. Joe, first of all, talk to us about, the food and the fun that we're going to see.
The best part about this day is a community coming together and experiencing what downtown has to offer on a what I call work day. So basically you get to come down, enjoy all the food providers, all the restaurants, bars, breweries, and walk about the street. So we enjoy the impact it has on business. It is our busiest day of the year.
So are there special menus and things like that happening?
Most people offer what they offer because that's the whole object of the game, is we're getting people that are normally not downtown. So we offer our entire menu all day long. The cool thing about it is that we get to expand our footprint because the streets are cordoned off. We get to take over the sidewalk, this alleyway here, so we get to increase our patio from 20 seats to about 120.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, Scott, when we talk about the numbers of people that Joe is talking about, what are we actually talking here?
Oh, on race weekend, you could see, thousands of people out here on the street easy, and it's just flooded with people. It's a scene like, any other we're used to on a regular work day.
Now, when the race is over, we talked about, you're able to go and get some of the fine dining or the hamburgers or just, there's any variety of things here. But what about things outside of the race you had mentioned?
Sure. Well, not only is race weekend a great weekend to visit just because of the activities in town, but it's smack dab in the middle of spring, which is the most beautiful time of the year here in the greater Wilmington area. So, you take a ride out and, in minutes you're at, Winterthur which is part of the ride on Sunday. If you know, where you can go through the gates of Winter. It's open to the public. It's a chance you don't ever get to do, you know, except for one time a year, to ride a bike through Winter. Not to mention that, you know, Winter's also, if you're a fan of the Netflix series The Crown, Winter has The Crown this year. You know, go and see 40 costumes directly from the show. You've got Nemours Estate, you've got Mount Cuba Gardens, you know, just over the state line you got Longwood Gardens, right down to Old Newcastle. And you know, the matter of fact, race weekend is also a day in Old Newcastle, which is the oldest home and garden tour in the country. It's celebrating 95 years this year.
It's not just a weekend for bike racers, it's a weekend for bike enthusiasts.
Exactly.
You see increased bike riding everywhere. Like you're out driving, I'm driving here and to work and home from work, and I'm passing 90 bikers on my way, and they're not the racers. But what is really cool is that it's one of the biggest races in the country, and it brings some really great athletes here. Great athletes, by the way, love craft beer. Yeah.
So is this more of people coming into the city, or what about the locals? Do the locals get into it and come down and vibe with the
Absolutely.
My personal favorite thing is I think the locals are attracted to the Friday night event, which is the time trial. And it's a very unique event because it's a time trial that runs around a mile loop, but it goes up a hill called Monkey Hill because it's right next to the Brandywine Zoo, and it's a cobblestone street.
Oh goodness.
So to see these bikers pedaling their hearts out, getting up this cobblestone street, and all the fans are there, and they've got cowbells, and they're cheering them on and getting them up the hill. And when you get to the top of the hill, you got a great food truck festival going on up there, and everybody's out eating, you know, mingling and eating foods and listening to a band, and it's just a great, you know, great event I think locals really look forward to every year.
Yeah. So Joe, do you think that a lot of the people or businesses, etc., around the periphery say, okay, there's going to be a bunch of people, and they kind of plan their events around it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it comes in, you know, the people are here all day. So they kind of, when the race is over, they kind of thin out quickly, but then you get the racers and their families, they're staying in town. They just did a race. They're not hopping on their bikes and riding out of here. They stay over. So we get to meet the bikers and the bikers' families and stuff like that coming in to dinner afterwards. And we'll get parties of 20, parties of 25, you know, the whole extended family that came to watch them race. So it's a great deal for us.
And it's not just supporting the sport and the you know, the event itself, but also supporting local businesses here in Wilmington.
It's a boon to Wilmington for the day, absolutely.
So if there's somebody locally that has never been out, you know, whether it's traffic or time or whatever, what advice would you guys give them on what they should do, what time they should come, and just how to really get the best out of the experience?
I say come early. The earlier you get here, the better seat that you get. It is a race, so you want to be lined up where I suggest right about here, because the finish line is right there. So
okay.
we fill up early, and I always tell people, you know, the earlier you get here, the better seat you get. You can keep it the whole day. You get to see the finishes and the starts, which I think is the most, you know, of course, because I'm right here, I think it's the most important. But then there's bends and turns. There's great spots around the course that you get to see a lot of action when they're coming down. It's amazing how fast they go. It's hard to explain because it's kind of like if you've never been to NASCAR.
Right.
You know what I mean? These bikers fly by. You're taking pictures from a half a block away. You're not taking, as they come by, it's a blur. And we're on the level here. When you go around to the far end of the race down there, they're coming downhill. I don't know what bikers rate, but they got to be in the 40-mile-an-hour range
Yeah.
on bikes. And you know, for all those enthusiasts, we hate to see a bike crash, but you see some bike crashes.
Goodness. And Scott, final words?
I echo what Joe says, but I like the Queen Theater end. You know, coming around that corner, like I said, the speed they're coming at is amazing. Plant yourself down there.
Excellent. Scott, Joe, thank you so much.
you.
And we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Lauren, and you're watching the 302.
If you're a cycling enthusiast, then chances are you know the notorious LVG, also known as Laura Van Gilder. She is a world champion, and when she's not ripping through most of the races that she rides, she's also inspiring the next generation of athletes. Joining me now is Laura. Laura, thank you so much for coming on the 302. I want to talk to you about the Wilmington Grand Prix. You've won it 3 times. Tell me, how does it compare to the other races you've ridden in?
The Wilmington Grand Prix is a marquee event. It has such a challenging course. It's very technical, 8 turns. It's got a hill in it, a downhill. So it really challenges the peloton of racers, the group of women, and it puts both your physical ability and your tactical ability to the test. So it's one that the racers look forward to all year because it's not just a straight up 4-corner event, and we race it for close to an hour of racing. So there's a lot of attrition that happens within the racing group.
Now, for somebody who maybe doesn't know the difference between cyclocross and road racing, talk to me a little bit about are they the same thing or are they different?
Road racing and cyclocross are different. Cyclocross is traditionally raced on a short course and it has a lot of obstacles, somewhat like steeplechase. You're getting off your bike, you're having to jump over things with your bike, you're racing in all sorts of conditions, mud, snow. It incorporates the element of running as well as riding with fatter tires so that you can have a lot more grip on the pavement or on the grass. And then road racing is a different bike with slimmer tires, and the races can be up to 100 miles or as short as 20 miles, and they tend to be a lot more pack racing.
It sounds like either one would be grueling. How do you prepare for a race?
Well, there's a lot that goes into preparation. Of course, you're training during the week, which some people train up to 5 days during the week or 3. It just depends on what you physically can handle. And then you're focusing on the event, making travel preparations, making preparations to meet up with your teammates if you have teammates coming to the race. So there's strategies involved if you have teammates as well. And of course, you're coordinating maybe host housing, which Wilmington Grand Prix offers host housing for the racers that are coming, from internationally. Actually, we have some teams coming from Australia, so they're flying in. Other teams are driving in. So, as a racer, there's a lot of key ingredients to put together to attending a race, just even a single day race like the Wilmington Grand Prix.
Now, I'm sure it doesn't feel like it, but you've been doing this for 27 years. Hard to believe. How did you get started, and what was your inspiration to get into the sport?
Well, I began because I wanted to get fitter, lose a little bit of weight, so I was a recreational rider, and I started by focusing on doing some MS 150 charity rides because I felt like I needed a goal. Then I began to try some mountain biking, and that I met a person who was a road racer, and that really was the key reason that I turned to road racing. My boyfriend, who's still my boyfriend 30 years later, saw that I had a lot of potential, and he sort of nurtured and mentored me through the beginning steps of being a bike racer, and it really helped, create the path that I've been on for so long.
Sure. Now talk to me about that first race, the first time you said, I'm ready, I'm gonna do this, versus where you are now.
Honestly, same types of things. The preparation that go into deciding you're going to go to a race, how are you going to get there, how early you're going to arrive, and then looking at the competitors. There's still a bit of nervousness for every race, and that's just because of the expectation and the hopefulness that I'll have a successful race. And success may be based on the outcome or just based on the goals that I have, to accomplish the race on that day.
Now, it's a lot of experience, and it's worked really well for you. You ripped through so many races in researching the segment. You did win after win after win, and I know now that you're sharing your experience with a new generation of athletes. Talk to me a little bit about reaching out and helping other athletes.
Well, I think for me, actually being in the trenches with the athletes and showing them that I've remained in it for so long and balanced work and life along the way. So I think because I'm very accessible to them, they're able to, come up and ask some questions about training or about moving up, through the ranks and applying to different teams. So, I guess I like to think I lead by example.
And who was your example?
There have been so many along the years, it's hard to, really I've always focused on some of the best and top women athletes. For me, it was Karen Bliss. She was from this area and she was a great sprinter. And so that's where my forte lies and my sprinting ability. So I really look to her.
Now, if someone sees this and says, you know what, I would like to be an athlete, or I am an athlete, and I would like to share in some of this wisdom, this well of wisdom that you have regarding the sport, where can they contact you or reach out to you or at least follow your progress?
You can follow me on Facebook. I have a personal page and a fan page, and I also have a website, lauravangilder.com. And, honestly, you can go to your local bike shop, see if they have women-only rides. Don't be afraid to join in on the group rides. See what resources are out there. In this area, you're close enough to the velodrome, so you have access to that, and that can get your feet wet, and then maybe you decide that you'd like to participate in a race. But recreationally, there's so many wonderful opportunities, and cycling, it's such a great social community that don't think you have to be a racer to be a part of it. It's very welcoming, and it's very fulfilling and positive.
All right, Laura, thank you so much for your
you.
time, and good luck in your future races. And we'll be right back. For a course map and a schedule of race times, you can go to wilmgrandprix.com. I'm Jackie Ferris. We'll see you next time on the 302. We leave you with a view of Market Street in the morning.